Today's guest is the co-founder and COO of iCryo. That is a recovery and wellness for the body and for the mind. He's a former college athlete who has always had a passion for health and helping others heal their body. Welcome to the show, Kyle. How are you doing?
Doing good, man. It's good to be on.
Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of mirrortalk podcast. I really appreciate your presence, and I'm looking forward to learning so much from you. So I would love to, just learn from your life journey so far, like, from being a college athlete to studying sports science and business admin. Um, from being a college athlete to studying sports science and business management in university, to winning several national gold medals in competitive powerlifting. Fast forward all the way to now, starting your own business. So can you share this story with us? Can you share how your life journey has been so far?
Yeah, it's honestly it's been interesting how you have some pivotal points in your life, and you have the option to either stick to exactly what you're doing, or take a turn and see where it goes. And I'm definitely one that accepts change. I love the evolution. I love growing. I love growth. I love progress.
Mm.
I hate standing still. It drives me nuts. I think I always tell people, if you think you're standing still, you're actually going backwards because the world is moving without you. So
Mm.
progression and always moving forwards in my mindset. I was a multi-sport athlete since I was 4 years old. My dad had me in every single sport that I could possibly think of at that
Yeah.
point in time. Going into high school, I centralized my focus a little bit more on football. I was a little bit more better at that sport than the others.
Yeah.
I did get a full ride scholarship to go play football at a Division II school my freshman year, and I had a coach at the time that was a mentor of mine, and he sat me down. He said two things. He said, "Kyle, we're going to offer you a full ride scholarship for next year.
Yeah.
As your coach, I want you to accept it. As your mentor, I want you to decline it." And
Wow.
it was kind of wild for me. And I asked him why, and he said, "Why? I think you have something more than just sports for you." And I
Mm.
really had to think about that. I really had to understand what he was saying. There's more out there in the world, to an 18-year-old football player that's thinking he's going pro. That's all that was on my mind. So for somebody to say, "Hey, open your eyes, there's more to the world than just sports,"
Yeah.
that was a curveball for me. So I sat on it, I thought about it, I prayed on it, and I did make a life change at that point. I decided to come back home to Houston, Texas, finish my basics here at a local college while I figured out what I wanted to do. And I grew a passion for recovery. I grew a passion for physical therapy and the way that the body works and how it operates and how it can heal itself if you just do the right things to it. And
Mm.
so I went into Texas State University, got my undergrad in exercise science. At that point in time, I was started to powerlift nationally, and so started to test my strength and my capabilities around how strong I could become.
Yeah.
Did that for about 6 years, got a couple national titles, and then transitioned my way after I graduated college. I stopped powerlifting. I took some nutritional courses in college that really got me interested in how you can eat just properly, right? The right way to eat. I mean, it's all about a balanced lifestyle, right? You don't want to
Mm.
over consume too much of one thing, and it's tough to eat right perfect all the time, right? It's almost impossible. So
Mm.
for me, it was about the balanced lifestyle. So I actually transitioned from powerlifting to bodybuilding, paying more attention to the aesthetics, paying more attention to diet and nutrition, and not really lifting heavy, but just lifting smart.
Mm.
And I won a couple got my pro card in bodybuilding. I bodybuilded for about 5 or 6 years. At this point in time, I had just launched iCryo. I got really into the recovery space. I ended up getting a job at a outpatient physical therapy center here in Houston. I was pursuing my doctorate in physical therapy, and I was midway through the program. I stumbled across cryo back in 2012. I was fortunate enough to be one of the first ones in cryotherapy, and
Mm.
it really just consumed me. Honestly, everything about what cryo does for you, it became a part of my life. And
Yeah.
I managed that operation for about 3 years, and started iCryo in 2015, and now we're one of the largest cryotherapy companies on the planet. So it's been interesting.
Wow, that's a wonderful journey, awesome journey so far. And I would just love you to teach me about cryotherapy. Like for people out there, for myself, I don't have so much knowledge about it. I don't know what cryotherapy entails until or recently I read about it also. So can you, explain cryotherapy to me, the concept behind it, how it works, and how it could benefit us as human beings?
Yeah, so most people look at cryo like it's an athletic recovery tool, and it's really not. It is, but there's much more to it than that. Cryo was originated back in 1978 in Japan. Japanese scientist was trying to treat rheumatoid arthritis and fibromyalgia. So basically, autoimmune issues that have high inflammation markers that are directly tied to inflammation. And it's very painful. If you have any people that suffer from fibromyalgia or arthritis,
Yeah.
it's a very painful autoimmune disease. So to be able to control that from a non-medicinal standpoint, not using medication,
Mhm.
that's huge, right? That's
Yes.
amazing to be able to do that.
That's true.
So what they did was they supercooled these chambers down to about a negative 150 degrees Fahrenheit.
Ooh.
They're not cooling the actual core temperature of the body, just the skin. So
Mm.
it doesn't penetrate the body, doesn't penetrate the skin. It doesn't hurt. I get people ask me all the time, does that hurt? And I was like, no, it doesn't hurt at all. I always explain to people, it's cold, but it's comfortable.
Mm.
I'm from Houston, Texas, where, 10 months out of the year, 11 months out of the year, it's 80, 90, 100 degrees. So I love the heat. I can't
Mm.
stand the cold. So for me, yeah, for me to do cryotherapy every day, and it
Mm.
is an everyday thing for me, it says a lot. We've got kids that do it. We've got adults, senior citizens. It doesn't matter if you're a male, a female, age category, ethnicity, doesn't matter. Everybody's a great candidate for cryotherapy.
Mm.
So during the actual treatment of cryo, we're walking into sub-zero temperatures. It's throwing the mind into two things: fight or flight response, which is going to give you a wake up, an endorphin rush. It's going to give you good serotonin relief, mood enhancement. So a lot of your energy and mental clarity components.
Yeah.
Or it's going to give you a rest or digest response, which is what happens when you fall asleep at night. So it could make you feel relaxed. It could make you feel a little sedative. It could make you feel, people kind of say like that runner's high, or that runner's feeling, and
Yes.
make you feel a little drowsy, right? And
Mm.
so when people ask me what can I get from cryo, well, it's different for everybody, right? It's
Mm.
going to
Mm.
trigger your body different than it triggers mine. So the one thing that I always have to remind people is the number one benefit of cryotherapy is to reduce the inflammation in the body. And
Mm.
when you can wrap your mind around what that means, it's everything. Inflammation is the root of all evil inside of our bodies. It is tied to headaches. It's tied to stress, anxiety, depression, sleep, um, much, much more than just physical recovery. So it's amazing how this has become a total wellness modality, mentally, physically, full spectrum. It's just a phenomenal service.
Mm. Wow, that's so beautiful. Wow. And how does iCryo come into this now? Can you tell me about your company, iCryo, and can you tell me about your services and why it is the best in the old world?
Yeah, so we started out just doing cryotherapy. That was kind of like the center of attention,
Mm.
and then we started to bolt on other services. We do compression therapy, which a lot of people, you've seen them do the compression boots. We do infrared saunas. Infrared technology has been studied for a very long time. It has a lot of medical backing behind infrared rays. We do IV infusions for different types of things. We
Mm.
do vitamin shots, vitamin injections, so your B12, your glutathione, vitamin C, stuff like that. We also do body sculpting, so we do facials, we do slimming sessions, toning sessions, cellulite reduction treatments. We do a wide array of things. The one thing that the two services that we just added into the business model last year was the float beds. The float beds have been amazing. We found a distributor overseas that makes dry float beds, so you don't have to get all wet and in that whole process. And then
Mm.
photobiomodulation. So PBM, red light therapy, is something that is becoming very, very high on the rise as far as awareness is concerned.
Mhm.
And it's personally becoming one of my favorite services. So
Wow.
I always tell people there's three main categories in our business model:
Mm.
cold, heat, and light.
Mm. Cold, heat, and light. Yeah. Wow, that's beautiful. And I understand that, I was going to your website and I understand that all of these services also help for, beauty and anti-aging. That could be very useful for a lot of people, like people
Yeah,
that.
you have. I always explain to people we target four main categories. So the first one is going to be obviously your pain management and reducing inflammation, right? Your pain
Mm-hmm.
management category is massive. Most people today live in some type of pain. They're
Mm-hmm.
just living through the day with the pain, right? The
Yes.
second category is the one you just talked about, the beauty and anti-aging space. I
Mm.
mean, I've never walked up to somebody and said, do you want to look and feel better? And they told me no, right? It's always, right. It's
Yeah.
always, yes, I'd love to look better or feel better. Like you're never
Yes,
perfect in your eyes, right? So
that's true.
the pain management, the beauty and anti-aging are two massive spaces for us.
Mm.
We then do hone in on athletic recovery, so sports performance,
Mm.
athletes, people of that nature. And then really the last category is the average Joe. It's general wellness, right? It's just
Mhm.
general issues that normal people deal with on a daily basis.
Yes.
And you'd be surprised how big that is, right?
Yes. Like when you're low on vitamins or you are not hydrated enough or your immune system is weak, I am crypto therapy also helps in this. And iCry also offers services for this kind of, deficiencies, I believe.
Most definitely, most definitely.
Yes. One thing I admire about you and your work is that of your company's mission. I read it on your website and I was like, wow, this is so amazing. And it is that your mission is to elevate the lifestyles of team members and guests by providing professional, affordable, and convenient cryotherapy services while raising the bar of in the health and wellness market basically. So I love this so much, and I would love to ask you a personal question, like or for us individually, how can we raise the bar of our health and wellness generally in our lives?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's kind of like I spoke about, when we started this podcast. It's you have to always think progression,
Mm,
and you have to always think positivity. So the two things that I always live my life by is I want to make sure that I'm always taking steps forward, not
mhm,
backwards, right? If I do take a step backwards, that's considered a failure, right? When you fail, you kind of take a step backwards. But how do you
mm,
learn from that failure to go 5 steps forward, right? So for
mm,
me, it's always about living in a progressive mindset.
yeah.
The second thing is positivity. That's the second thing that I cannot associate myself with negative people.
Mm,
It just rubs me the wrong way. I love positive energy. I'm a big believer in energy.
mm,
There was a study done a few years back, and they actually proved you could feel somebody's energy from over 20 feet away. So
mm,
it's scientifically proven that you can feel somebody's energy from over 20 feet away without them even saying a word. So for
wow.
me, energy, positivity, what you bring into the world is what you're going to receive back from it, right? And
Yes,
so for me,
yes.
I think it's huge for, two big things. Like I said, I live my
Mm,
life by live in a progressive mind state and always live in a positive state
mm,
of mine. And so it's for me, those are two crucial things. If you want to excel in business, if you want to excel in relationships with your significant other or friendships or just personal development success within yourself,
mhm.
those are two big points for me.
Yes. And now talking about moving forward and raising the bar, I'm just interested to know what the future of iCryo looks like. What are your plans for cryotherapy? Or what are the innovations that are coming out very soon? And all those funny, wonderful, and interesting things here.
Yeah, it's interesting how the industry's evolved so much already. I've been in this industry for almost a decade. We've gone through so many advancements in equipment, so many advancements in safety around the equipment.
Mm,
New technology comes out. I feel like every year I see 5 different services that we could potentially offer. And for me, I think it's just making sure two big things. Most definitely, the first thing is we always excel and we find the safest equipment possible. So
mm,
for
mm.
me, when I look for the next best cryo machine, I want to make sure it's safer than what we currently have, right? I'm always
Yes.
thinking safety, safety, safety. How can we make iCryo the safest possible environment for somebody to walk in
Mm,
and get any type of a wellness-based service without having a cognitive mindset around I could get hurt, right?
mm,
So
mm, mm.
always having safer equipment. So the evolution of where we're going to be in the future, I'm hoping that we would have equipment that is just 100% safe, right? I mean, when you
Yes.
deal with equipment, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be a blender at your house. There's
Mm.
always going to be some level of, an issue around could something go wrong, right?
Yes. Yes.
Outside of that, for me, it's always staying cutting edge. I love thinking outside the box. Most of my executive team and the team here at iCryo, we're always looking for things that people aren't doing. I always try to find data-driven products, so products that are proven, not just a fad, but they have scientific research behind it. So the one thing for me, there's a few things on the sites that I can't talk about. They're definitely super confidential, but just know that we will always be looking for the safest products on the market, and we're always going to be looking to do things that other people are not doing.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And I'm looking forward to, the new things that are coming out very soon for iCryo.
Yes, definitely.
So how can people access the services that you offer, these outstanding services? How can people access it?
So I always tell people, before you try a service, do some research on it. Check out our website. We're all over social media, YouTube. We're all across the internet. Research the services first. And, if you're kind of weary, you're kind of trying to figure it out a little bit more, give one of our locations a phone call and talk to one of our associates over the phone, and they can give you a little bit more background about what you're doing. But I think the most important part that we do as a company, when we have a first-time guest that walks inside the building, we take them on about a 5 to 7 minute tour of the entire facility. We introduce them to each service. We talk about some of the benefits they can get from each service. And then following the tour, they have a little bit more of an understanding of, number one, what do we offer? And number two, what can I gain from it, right? And we help them make that assessment. We don't want them to walk in and just say, hey, what would you like to do today? Well, they have no idea what's in here, right? So taking them on that tour and showing them what we have, showing it how it can help them is the most important factor. So understanding what that guest is looking to achieve, right? Really figuring out what they struggle with on a daily basis, and then hopefully tailoring or customizing a package or a membership specifically for them.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And if someone approaches you, Kyle, and says, and asks Kyle, why should I try out iCryo? What makes your service stand out from XYZ crypto, cryotherapy business? How would you answer this? Crypto is on my mind. I'm so sorry.
No worries, man.
So how would you say iCryo stands out from other cryotherapy services out there?
So there's definitely three main things, and you said them earlier. They are in our mission statement. For me, we provide top-notch professionalism. When you walk into an iCryo, it is a first-class establishment. It is definitely something where you walk in and you feel like you're at a second home, right? It's comfortable. You are at somewhat of an elegant place. We like to make sure that it's aesthetically pleasing, right? We pay a lot of attention to our build outs, our construction process. It feels first class, but then you walk through the professionalism part and you get to the affordability. When you see something that's real first class, you're automatically thinking, oh my gosh, this is going to cost so much money. Well, for us, it was, how do we make the business model affordable for anybody, right? So we did something very different early on that no other company really did. And we priced things much, much cheaper than everybody else did. So to stay competitive, not just with the market, but with people that are spending money elsewhere in other businesses. So for me, providing top-notch professionalism, coupling that with affordability, services that a college student could afford, right? But then outside of that, making sure that it's convenient. So allowing people to do a walk-in. Of course, do we accept reservations? Do we love when people make a reservation because it solidifies your time slot? Most definitely. It helps us manage the business a little bit better, but we do accept walk-ins. So we live in a convenient-based society. Hello, Amazon, right? People want things yesterday and they want it now, right? So for us, it's being able to provide that walk-in based service of convenience so it doesn't disrupt somebody's day. So for me, it's the three things that stick out for iCryo opposed to a competitor of ours: professionalism, affordability, and convenience.
Yeah, oh, that's beautiful. You ensure that your clients have that comfort when they come to your place, and they have the top quality that they could ever get anywhere else.
Most definitely.
That's beautiful. So you've won national gold medals in competitive powerlifting. You are, a professional athlete in physique bodybuilding. So I would love to, learn a lot from you in regards to, fitness and, healthy living also. So can you share some health and fitness tips with us? And can you tell us how we could live a healthier life in a healthier body with healthier minds?
Most definitely. So there's something that I always tell people, and I'll paint a scenario for you. So you've heard people talk about, like, imagine I'm a father, right? And I'm talking about my children to you.
Yes.
And a common statement that you would hear from people when they get into serious conversations around, well, what would you do for your kids? People say all the time, well, I would die for my kids,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you
Yes.
hear that a lot. So
Yes.
my response to them is, but would you live for them?
Mm.
And you kind of get people that they're thinking about it, like, what do you mean live for them? Well,
Yeah.
you do your kids no good if you're no longer on this earth,
Mm.
right? If you're not here for them.
Yeah.
You do your business no good if you're no longer on this earth to feed the employees, right? You
True.
do your family, your friends, you do people no service if you're not giving them the best version of you.
True.
So I always tell people, look, it may sound selfish. You have to invest in your personal growth. You have to invest in your health, in your wellness, to make sure that not just you're good for you, but you're the best version of yourself
Yeah.
for other people, right?
Yes. Yes.
The mindset of focusing on you is centrally about making sure that you give everybody the best you. And so
Yeah.
I say that to say, you should be setting your schedule based on your needs,
Mm.
not other people's needs.
Mm.
So make sure that you're setting your calendar for, when are you exercising this week? Does it have to be 7 days a week? No, pick 3 days a week, spend 45 minutes in the gym, get some exercise, right? But block that in your schedule. Couple that and spend half a day, 2 times a week, 2 hours here, whatever it may be, and prep some meals. Cook some chicken, cook some rice, cook some veggies, meal prep it. I used to meal prep all the time for myself and my significant others. We cook a bunch of meals, put it in the fridge, and my girlfriend would take food for the day. I would take food for the day, and it becomes a lot easier, right? So
Yes.
I think
Yes.
for me, it's analyzing, what do you have to do to better you so you're better for other people,
Yeah.
but then setting that and not deviating from it. What happens a lot of time is, you go through the day, you get beat up through the day, life just knocks you down, and you get such an drained mentality, and you go back to the things that you wanted to do for yourself, and you're just so exhausted. You're like, oh, I'll do that tomorrow, right? And then
Yes.
6 years later, you're still saying, I'm going to do it tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it's a matter of taking action. So I think, and I talked about this earlier this morning with somebody, I think one of the biggest issues in the world we live in today is failure to launch.
Failure to
People
launch.
people talk, people think, but they never do. And
Yeah.
so I think you have a lot of creative minds out there. You have a lot of people with good intentions, but you have a
Yes.
lot of people that are failing to launch on their actions. They're failing to do.
Yeah.
So I think for me, it's just, I always tell people, you can think of the brightest ideas on the planet, but if you don't put that into action, nothing good will come from it.
No, that's true. So we have to act in order to live a very healthy life, and in order to be healthy in our minds and body, we have to take that action, that step. Go to the gym, read a book, whatever. Just take action and do what you have to do to get a better life.
That's right.
That's wonderful. And also, in university, you studied exercise sports science. And are there like some simple exercises that one could, maybe do at home or do around, maybe while walking also, in order to just ensure that the body is, moving and, being fit?
Yeah, for me, I think honestly, people don't realize, but they exercise every day. When you're walking around, you walk to the mailbox, you walk your dog. A lot of stuff you do during the day is exercise. So that's why at the end of the day, you're physically exhausted, but you're like, I didn't even go to the gym. Well, how much walking did you do? I mean, do you have a watch that counts your steps? I mean, see how far you've come through the day.
Yes.
Same thing with lifting. Like, you don't have to go to the gym to lift things. I was talking to a mother of 3 kids a few years ago, it was a while back. And she said, Kyle, I just can't find the time to work out. And I said, well,
Mm.
How old are your kids? She goes, well, I got one that's a year and a half. I got one that's 3, and I have one that's 5. And I said, how many times a day do you pick up your kids?
Yeah.
She's like, from school? And I said, no, physically pick them up. How many times a day? And she's like, oh gosh, I can't even count. And I said, well, in my mind, that's a deadlift. Like you know what I'm saying? Like you're
Yes,
picking
yes.
up weight as long as you're not doing it with your back and you're doing it with your legs and you're
Mm,
doing the proper biomechanics of what the body's supposed to do.
mm,
You are exercising throughout the
yeah,
entire day. So for me, I always try to remind people, you don't have to physically go into the gym to get a physical workout.
yeah.
It can be a walk around the block with your spouse. It can be walking the dog down the street to pick up the mail.
Mm,
It can be as simple as just going through the day and just being you. You lift things all the time. You move things around. You're walking nonstop. I sit at a desk right now, but every 30 minutes I have to get up and walk around. I can't stand still, man. So for
yeah.
me, it's understanding the things that you do during the day, but also understanding the things that you should not be doing. And when you run into those roadblocks where you're like, man, I really want a cookie right now. I mean, that's fine and dandy. That's great. Don't eat 12
Yes.
of them, but just think about, hey, maybe I should get up and move around a little bit, right?
Yes, that's true. Yeah, yeah. It's as simple as that with the basic activities that we do every day of our lives. Yes, yes. So now I know you love talking about mental health. It's very important to you. Um, how do you encourage us to improve our mental health? Like, what should we do in order to improve our mental health or prevent it from deteriorating or becoming worse? Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, I think it's different for everybody. The one thing that I've done is you have to have your me time. You have to have time for you, and it's got to be away from friends, away from family, away from your spouse and kids, away from your cell phone and laptop.
Mm,
One of my therapists a couple years ago, I was going through a lot of just issues in life, right? I was stressed out. I was getting anxiety. I couldn't sleep a lot. And she told me, she says, Kyle, when do you wake up in the morning? I said, well, I don't know. Depends on the day, 6, 7, 7:30, whatever it is. And
mm,
she says, well, when you know you should be getting ready for the day, I want you to wake up 30 minutes to an hour earlier than that. And I want you to go sit in the backyard. I want you to sit in a chair, leave your phone in the house, and just be with you for
mm,
half an hour to an hour every day.
mm,
Just be with you, be in your thoughts, be in peace, be in quiet. Don't pay attention to your cell phone. Don't do anything. Be out there alone. And I can tell you what, something that simple made a massive impact on my life. Doing just that small routine of getting up 30 minutes earlier, sitting out on the back porch, peace and quiet, nobody around me, no technology. It started my day with clarity.
mm.
And for me, I think the start of your day predicts how the rest of your day could possibly go. So if
Yes.
you wake up to a late alarm, you're snoozing that thing 3 or 4 times, you're rushing, throwing clothes on, trying to get ready, you're going to have a clustered day. Like
Mm,
you're already starting off on the bad foot. So for me, spend your quality time in my mind at the beginning of the day, get you some me time and
mm.
start your day with clarity, start your day refreshed, start your day clear minded, and start your day stress free.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And I would love to go back to cryotherapy. And I would love to know how cryotherapy affects our mental health and also our mindset. Are there connections between them?
Yeah, most definitely. So cryo is definitely one thing I do for mental stability. I'll call it that. When I say that, I personally do cryotherapy for sleep. It helps me a lot with my sleep.
Mm,
Sleep is a good way not only to physically recover, but mentally recover. So I always tell people, make sure you're getting enough sleep. And the one thing that I notice when I don't do cryo for 2 or 3 days, I start to get a little restless, outside of everything else that could get me to not sleep in life.
yeah.
Cryo really helps me. So for me, it's understanding cryotherapy does more than just a physical recovery. It
Mm,
helps release endorphins. It helps release serotonin. It helps release melatonin. It helps release anything that your body is harnessing or holding on to. So if you're
yeah.
not sleeping properly, if you're not in the right mindset, yeah, it could come from food. It could come from your job. It could come from things you're drinking, whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, you just need to do some of the right things in order to make sure that your mind is clear. So once again, cryotherapy being a modality that you can use to gain mental clarity, to gain a positive mood enhancement from the serotonin release. It's something to me that's it's tremendous when you look at the mental capabilities of the rehab process within cryotherapy.
Yeah, oh, that's nice. And are there like some downsides to it, like some side effects that one could experience from cryotherapy? Like someone could be out there asking, "Oh yeah, this sounds amazing, so beautiful," but are there like some things that we're not talking about that could be, hazardous side effects, for example?
Yeah, so really there are not many side effects from cryo. I think the biggest one is just being cold. most
Yeah.
most people, it's funny. I get the common feedback of, oh, I don't want to do that. I hate being cold. And I think it's something around like 2% of the world's population enjoys the cold. So I always joke around and tell people, well, you're not alone. A lot of people hate the cold.
Yes.
But as far as side effects are concerned, the machines that they're building these days are so incredibly safe. They're electrically powered, so there's no consumable of a chemical that could potentially hurt you or burn you. It's honestly the contraindication. I think maybe some of the worst things I've ever experienced within an electric cryo chamber was just like an overstimulation, and people maybe got kind of a flush or, a quick, like a little bit of like a headache for a few seconds or something like that. But outside of that, it's fairly, do we often see any real big issues.
Yeah. Oh, great. Okay. That sounds like, yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. Yes. I know. I mean, you've had a wonderful and amazing journey so far, like up to this moment of starting your own business, being the COO of iCryo. If you could look back at your 21-year-old self, what would you tell your 21-year-old self?
Get it together.
Why? Why?
No, I would honestly, I would probably, I wouldn't change anything that I've done in life because it's made me the man who I am today. And I'm very proud of the person I've become. Have I made mistakes in life? Of course, everybody does. Everybody makes mistakes, but it's how you bounce back from that and how you learn from it.
Yeah.
If I could say something to my 21-year-old self, it would be to not change a thing and don't doubt yourself. If I would have doubted anything that I was doing when I was 21, I wouldn't have made it here today, sitting at 32 years old, being where I am.
Yeah.
Would I love to be somewhere even further? Of course, you're always going to want more, but I look at the things I have in life and I'm blessed. I'm blessed to have an amazing family. I'm blessed to have amazing friends. I'm blessed to have the company and the people in this company that work with me alongside me, pushing this company forward. So yeah, if I were to look at my 21-year-old self in the face, I'd say, hey man, correct some of the things you're doing, but you're on the right path. Don't second guess yourself and just keep going with your heart.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. Yes. Don't second guess yourself. Yes, I love that. And if you could tell someone out there who is listening to this podcast episode, if you could advise them on one thing or the other, what would be your biggest advice ever, or your biggest lesson that you could share with other people?
Significance over success. That is one motto that I live my life by. And when people hear that, they don't really understand what that means. And for me, most people strive to live a successful lifestyle, right? Successful life. Well, for me, I want to leave this earth and people look at me and say, man, Kyle made a significant impact on my life, right?
Yes.
And so to me, living a successful life, that's very surface level. That there's no substance to that, right? To me, success is what you made a bunch of money, you made a bunch of friends, you took a bunch of vacations. Who cares? When you leave this planet, do you want people to think, oh, he made a bunch of money and took a bunch of vacations, or had a bunch of cars, whatever? No, I want people to remember Kyle Jones and say, man, he made a significant impact on this world. So I want to live a life of significance. So I always tell people, significance over success.
Significance over success. Yeah, significance over success. That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Kyle, for everything that you taught me in this podcast episode. For someone out there who would love to connect with you or work with you, what's the best way of doing this? What's the best way of reaching out to you?
I always tell people you can connect with us through our business channels, iCryo.com. It's our website, icryo.com. You can look at us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. We have tons of channels out there that you can find us. If you want to connect with me personally, I love to chat with people. My Instagram is at Kyle William Jones. So I'm on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn as well. Love to connect with people and talk about cryo, talk about business, talk about personal development. But yeah, definitely many ways to reach out to us.
Beautiful. I'm going to place all of this information in the show notes of this episode. So I encourage everyone to just click on the links, copy the links, and reach across to all the different channels that iCryo and Kyle also offer. Thank you so much, Kyle. This was wonderful.
Awesome. Thank you, man.